Praise be to Jesus. Hi everyone, Charles here with you this morning. Well, I was working on one project for the Catholic ministry, and you'll see that a little later in the day. But right now, an important story has come up. Archbishop Vigano has issued a third testimony that refutes the accusations of Cardinal Ouellet. So I'm going to read some of this to you. Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano, or Vigano, I don't know which, today has issued a third explosive testimony in response to an open letter from Cardinal Mark Ouellet, prefect of the Congregation for Bishops. Here below, we publish the official English text of Archbishop Vigano's third testimony, dated October 19th, the liturgical feast of the North American martyrs. And here it is here. To bear witness to corruption in the hierarchy of the Catholic Church was a painful decision for me and remains so. But I am an old man, one who knows he must soon give an accounting to the judge for his actions and omissions, one who fears him, who can cast body and soul into hell, a judge who, even in his infinite mercy, will render to every person salvation or damnation according to what he has deserved. Anticipating the dreadful question from that judge, how could you, who had knowledge of the truth, keep silent in the midst of falsehood and depravity? What answer could I give? I testified fully aware that my testimony would bring alarm and dismay to many eminent persons, churchmen, fellow bishops, colleagues with whom I had worked and prayed. I knew many would feel wounded and betrayed. I expected that some would in their turn assail me and my motives. Most painful of all, I knew that many of the innocent faithful would be confused and disconcerted by the spectacle of a bishop's charging colleagues and superiors with malfeasance, sexual sin, and grave neglect of duty. Yet I believed that my continued silence would put many souls at risk and would certainly damn my own. Having reported multiple times to my superiors and even to the Pope the abhorrent behavior of Theodore McCarrick, I could have publicly denounced the truths of which I was aware earlier. If I had some responsibility in this delay, I repent for that. This delay was due to the gravity of the decision I was going to take and to the long travail of my conscience. I have been accused of creating confusion and division in the church through my testimony. To those who believe such confusion and division were negligible prior to August 2018, perhaps such a claim is plausible. Most impartial observers, however, will have been aware of a long-standing excess of both, as is inevitable when the successor of Peter is negligent in exercising his principal mission, which is to confirm the brothers in the faith and in sound moral doctrine. When he then exacerbates the crisis by contradictory or perplexing statements about these doctrines, the confusion is worsened. Therefore, I spoke, for it is the conspiracy of silence that has wrought and continues to wreak great harm in the Church, harm to so many innocent souls, to young priestly vocations, to the faithful at large. With regard to my decision, which I have taken in conscience before God, I willingly accept every fraternal correction, advice, recommendation, and invitation to progress in my life of faith and love for Christ, the Church, and the Pope. Excuse me. Let me restate the key points of my testimony. Well, there's really quite a bit more to the letter, so, this is all written out, what he's disputing against Cardinal Ouellet, so, well, let me go down to here. I'll read a little more. In brief, Cardinal Ouellet concedes the important claims that I did and do make, and disputes claims I don't make and never made. Wow. Just, I didn't go through all this before I put this up. It's really been a busy morning. Just hold on, please. Now I'll read a little bit more. In the public remonstrances directed at me, I have noted 2 omissions, 2 dramatic silences. The first silence regards the plight of the victims. The second regards the underlying reason why there are so many victims, namely, the corrupting influence of homosexuality in the priesthood and in the hierarchy. As to the first, it is dismaying that, amid all the scandals and indignation, so little thought should be given to those damaged by the sexual predations of those commissioned as ministers of the gospel. This is not a matter of settling scores or sulking over the vicissitudes of ecclesiastical careers. It is not a matter of politics. It is not a matter of how church historians may evaluate this or that papacy. This is about souls. Many souls have been and are even now in peril of their eternal salvation. As to the second silence, this very grave crisis cannot be properly addressed and resolved unless and until we call things by their true names. This is a crisis due to the scourge of homosexuality, in its agents, in its motives, and its resistance to reform. It is no exaggeration to say that homosexuality has become a plague in the clergy, and it can only be eradicated with spiritual weapons. It is an erroneous hypocrisy to condemn the abuse, claim to weep for the victims, and yet refuse to denounce the root cause of so much sexual abuse, homosexuality. It is hypocrisy to refuse to acknowledge that this scourge is due to a serious crisis in the spiritual life of the clergy, and to fail to take the steps necessary to remedy it. Unquestionably, there exists philandering clergy, and unquestionably, they too damage their own souls, the souls of those who they corrupt, and the church at large. But these violations of priestly celibacy are usually confined to the individuals immediately involved. Philandering clergy usually do not recruit other philanderers, nor work to promote them, nor cover up their misdeeds, whereas the evidence for homosexual collusion with its deep roots that are so difficult to eradicate is overwhelming. It is well established that homosexual predators exploit clerical privilege to their advantage, but to claim the crisis itself to be clericalism is purely sophistry, I'm not sure about that word. It is to pretend that a means, an instrument, is in fact the main motive. Denouncing homosexual corruption and the moral cowardice that allows it to flourish does not meet with congratulation in our times, not even in the highest spheres of the church. I am not surprised that in calling attention to these plagues, I am charged with disloyalty to the Holy Father and with fomenting an open and scandalous rebellion. Yet rebellion would entail urging others to topple the papacy. I am urging no such thing. I pray every day for Pope Francis, more than I have ever done for the other popes. I am asking, indeed, earnestly begging the Holy Father to face up to the commitments he himself made in assuming his office as successor of Peter. He took upon himself the mission of confirming his brothers and guiding all souls in following Christ in the spiritual combat along the way of the cross. Let him admit his errors, repent, show his willingness to follow the mandate given to Peter, and, once converted, let him confirm his brothers. In closing, I wish to repeat my appeal to my brother bishops and priests. Oh, boy. In closing, I wish to repeat my appeal to my brother bishops and priests who know that my statements are true and who can so testify, or who have access to documents that can put the matter beyond doubt. You too are faced with a choice. You can choose to withdraw from the battle, to prop up the conspiracy of silence and avert your eyes from the spreading of corruption. You can make excuses, compromises, and justifications that put off the day of reckoning. You can console yourselves with the falsehood and the delusion that it will be easier to tell the truth tomorrow and then the following day, and so on. On the other hand, you can choose to speak. You can trust him who told us, "The truth will set you free." I do not say it will be easy to decide between silence and speaking. I urge you to consider which choice on your deathbed, and then before the just judge, you will not regret having made. Signed by Carlo Maria Vigano. What a wonderful letter. Absolutely wonderful.